All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee. Joining me at this time, a first-timer, I'm assuming Detroit, Michigan, because, look, we're going to be talking to Detroit Lions on this very program. He's got the Detroit Tigers hat, all in on the Scott Harris rebuild. Mike Payton of Pride of Detroit is here. Mike, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Chase, for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. I know it's kind of tough times a little bit for the Lions because the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh. You get an offense, and then the defense evaporates, and then you think you have an offense, and then the Patriots take away that offense too. And it's just such a weird year for the Lions because you came in and you were on Hard Knocks, and there was a lot of buzz, and it's a real likable group. And one of the things I thought was interesting was that Dan Campbell was dead set and was genuine when he meant what he meant about Jared Goff, and just like, we're not going to force a quarterback, we're going to build everything else out. Like, we can win with Goff. And I was like, well, we'll see depending on how long he gets, because I think it's going to take some real buy-in from ownership in the front office and the fans. And I don't know, that hasn't worked for a lot of coaches who try and put off the whole quarterback thing in this league. And then Goff's been awesome and been one of the 5 most exciting quarterbacks through the first 4 weeks up until this past week. And you're like, all right, so maybe it's not Goff. It's something that we hadn't anticipated at all being a big source, because Aaron Glenn just being a household name and someone I think all around the league was just like, it was a great hire and was a great fit, but it's been bad. So I want to start, I know I just hit you with a lot there. I want to start with, like, what changed for the offense this year from last year?
It's really a bunch of different things converging at the same time. The first one is, last year at the beginning of the year, Khalif Raymond was Jared Goff's number 1 receiver. They had signed Brashad Perryman, and they had signed Marcus Williams, and both those guys. Williams got hurt early, and Brashad Perryman got cut in training camps. So it was basically left down to Khalif Raymond. So. That didn't work out very well. Obviously, Goff's very early start in Detroit was not good at all. A lot of interceptions, a lot of fumbles, a lot of short passes, a lot of just weird-looking offense. Halfway down the season at the bye week, Anthony Lynn is let go. Well, not let go by the Lions, but his play calling duties are taken away from him, and Dan Campbell begins to call the offense. Then you see the rise of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then the Lions also bring in Josh Reynolds, and all these things. That's where it started. And over the summer, they gave the offensive coordinator position to Ben Johnson, who kind of worked hand in hand with Campbell last year in drawing up some pretty entertaining plays. Basically, if you saw an entertaining play that the Lions did on the second half of the season, you always heard later that Ben Johnson had something to do with that. So the offense has been basically tailored to what Jared Goff is good at, and that's play action passes, a little bit of shotgun here and there. And DeAndre Swift came back healthy. TJ Hawkinson came back healthy. They had their offensive line healthy for the most part. So it was really just a convergence of all those things. And I think the big thing of all that is that Jared Goff kind of got some of that confidence that he had in his 2018, 2017 time in Los Angeles. He got that back. Somewhere along the lines, he lost that with McVay. But you could tell that he's a way, way different player now and a lot more confident.
Where is Goff noticeably different, though, from a year ago? What have you noticed outside of the play calling from last year and just the options that he has out wide? Where is he noticeably different?
Well, with the exception of the Patriots game, where he kind of, it's almost as if he forgot everything he'd learned. He has been a lot better at handling pressure. Early on in the season last year, he did a lot. He did this weird spin move thing. If you watched Sunday's game, you saw it a couple of times. He brought it back. He could not get away from pressure, and if pressure was coming, he'd try the spin move, or
it's like a nervous tick.
Yeah, or he'd try to run backwards and he would wind up getting sacked for more yards than he probably would have gotten sacked for. Now he's doing a good job of kind of getting away from that pressure, letting it get by, stepping up in the pocket, getting rid of the ball instead of trying to make something happen. So those are some big things that you've seen from him, and also he's kind of bringing back that deep ball and throwing into some windows that you probably weren't used to seeing Goff throw into. So he's been a lot different. If you forget Sunday.
Well, does that make you feel better about the Jameson Williams pick and like when he comes into the fold? Like if Goff is going to utilize him and he is going deep more, it seems like once Jameson Williams comes back, and I'm assuming he comes back at some point this year, that will be a nice late season surprise for him, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing he's going to be back in November at some point in time. Don't quote me on that. It's just a guess. But yeah, no, I mean, that's going to make a huge difference. You saw the speed that Jameson Williams put on in Alabama. He's incredible. That breakaway speed that he has, that he can get separation. A lot of the that was what DJ Chark was brought in to do, and so far he's kind of been a bit of a disappointment. He's been injured the last couple of weeks, but before that, he's been kind of you haven't really even noticed he's been on the field. It's been mostly Amon-Ra St. Brown and Josh Reynolds getting those targets. But Jameson is going to make a big difference to an already pretty good offense.
I like it. On the defensive side, though, why can they not stop anyone on defense, Mike?
Yeah, I think it's, again, I think it's a combination of a few things. One, they're incredibly young and inexperienced. This is the Lions as a whole are, I think, the second youngest team in the entire NFL. So that goes, with that comes a lot. You're learning the NFL game. It's not an overnight thing. Not everybody can be like J.J. Watt and just come in and master it immediately. So I think what you're seeing is a lot of inexperience, and you're also seeing kind of some of the things that Aaron Glenn has taught this team to do is to be aggressive. Dan Campbell has that too. It's to be aggressive, go after the guy, rush after him, get in there and get it done. And I think that aggression is being used against them, especially when they're, trying to blitz. You live and die by the blitz, and the Lions are dying by the blitz. They're just not getting home, and they're just allowing too many things to happen. And then, the other thing is injuries. Like, people just keep getting hurt. Tracy Walker got hurt a couple weeks ago. He's out for the season. Sunday's game against the Patriots, the Lions were down to if one more secondary player would have gotten hurt, they would I don't know what they were going to do. They would have had to trot a defensive tackle out there or something. It would have been really interesting. But yeah, they kept going through injuries there, and it's just a lot of learning that needs to be done. And I think they're still trying to figure out how to use guys like Aidan Hutchinson and what positions to put him in, and do you stand him up? Do you 3-point stand him?
Has he been good? Because there's been a lot of folks who are like, well, he had some really open sacks. He's getting through. He should be doing it. It's not really him causing it. It's just schematic sacks for him. Has he been a little disappointing, or is it just a position thing like you're saying?
I think it's a position thing. No, I wouldn't say that he's been disappointing. I mean, obviously, when you draft a guy with a second overall pick, you want him to be like this incredible – you want him to be T.J. Watt. You want him to come out and start sacking people immediately. And he's getting pressures, and he was the highest graded defender on the Lions on Sunday. I think he had like an 80 or something on Pro Football Focus. So
Did that match what you saw?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, he's not getting to the quarterback, but a lot of that has to do with he's not getting help anywhere else along that line. Like, he's getting double teamed constantly. And nobody else is taking that pressure off of him. Charles Harris was supposed to be that guy, and after having a pretty big season last year, he had 10 sacks. But he's kind of taken a step back, and the interior defensive line is not playing well at all, really. So basically, everything's falling on Hutchinson, and yeah, he's kind of suffering for it, but.
Well, speaking of Hawk, he killed me this week in fantasy. He is my fantasy tight end and on my wife's league. Cause that's better. I'm telling you, folks, if you're married, just have your wife have the team, and then you're just like the shadow GM. You don't have to kill you're not losing your mind every Sunday, but You're the shadow dream. It's a lot more fun. You don't get as annoyed when things don't go your way. But the Hawk, nothing burger this week after the 30-something the week prior, man. What is going on there?
Oh, excuse me. I think that the Patriots knew exactly what to do. Obviously, Matt Patricia is on that coaching staff. T.J. Hawkinson was who they drafted. He was a featured player while he was there, and they had Kyle Duggar all over him. I mean, there was nothing that Hawkinson could do, and I think Hawkinson's the kind of guy that is. I think he could be a good TE, but I think he's a guy that has to really take advantage of situations, where the receivers are taking most of that attention away, and I think that's where you get your good TJ Hawkinson stuff. I don't know. I don't know with TJ. I'm starting to wonder if he's going to be in Detroit for the long haul, but we'll see.
Interesting. Well, in the back end, Jeff Okudah, has he been good? Are you feeling good about where Okudah is this year?
Yeah, he started off really well, had a great game against Minnesota, really shut down Justin Jefferson, which was kind of a big shocker. Did sort of the same with Terry McLaurin and A.J. Brown earlier in the season, but DK Metcalf kind of really beat him up, when they played Seattle, and he played fairly well against the Patriots too. He's another guy that's like, he's you forget how young he is in terms of the game. We got drafted 3 years ago, but he's only really played like a half a season cumulative because he's dealt with injuries in both those years. So everything is still new to him, but I think he's coming along really nicely, and I think that after some time, next year you might see him take another step.
Who's been the biggest surprise thus far on this Lions team?
Well, it's Malcolm Rodriguez, a 6th-round draft pick. Like, nobody expected this guy to – when he got drafted –
He's the Oklahoma State linebacker, right?
Yep, absolutely, yeah. He's the guy who was doing the salsa dancing and dancing like a cowboy and all that on Hard Knocks. When he got drafted, my first assumption – I think a lot of people in Detroit's first assumption was, okay, well, here's a special teams guy. He's so short, and, that was a concern. But he just wowed everybody from the get-go in training camp and worked his way up to the starting spot. And he's been really well. He's been really great. And he's been playing good against Seattle. He played good against New England. It's a huge surprise. A 6th-round pick. You just don't expect them to start immediately over guys who have been on this team for a couple of years already. But it's been good.
The biggest disappointment, though, has been who?
The biggest disappointment I would have to say is DJ Chark. I really thought that he was going to come in and kind of open up this offense and stretch the field and take the top off, but he's just been absent. There's been a couple of times where he's caught some good passes. I think he started the game against Seattle off with, I think, two catches. He got 40 yards, and then he was just gone. You just didn't see him after that. Had a nice touchdown against Washington, but other than that, he's just a guy who was expected to be that number one receiver, or number two at least to St. Brown. It just hasn't showed up, and he's on a 1-year deal, so there's a good chance that he won't be here next year either, especially if Jameson shows up like everybody's expecting him to.
I'm a big Jameson guy. I think he'll be good. I wanted the Falcons to go Jameson if they were going to go receiver in the one, but I'm happy with Drake London. Drake London's been a lot of fun as well. Everyone in this rookie class basically is good, so you're in good hands because I don't think there's been one underperforming rookie wideout taken early, right?
Not that I can think of. I mean, Olave's look good, and Drake London's look good. Yeah,
Garrett Wilson's been good in New York. Yeah, I mean it's a good time to draft a receiver early. Speaking of the draft, though, now that the season's underway, and we'll see ultimately what happens with the rest of the Lions season. It's a long season, and things can shift. But if they were to find themselves in the top 4 again next year, do you think they go pass rush? Do you think they go Will Anderson if they're picking at number 2, number 3 to just solidify this Aidan Hutchinson and Will Anderson type pass rush group? Because you mentioned Charles Harris, who I think he was in the Falcons a couple of years ago.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. That I don't know. Like it seems like that's more of the MO for Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell of like, we want everything else to be perfected before we spend the the early draft pick on a quarterback. Do you think that's what they would do, or there would be too much pressure to pass on another quarterback if Bryce or a CJ Stroud is there? What is your gut telling you right now that they'll do? Assuming that Goff plays this way the rest of the season.
Yeah, if Goff plays this way the rest of the season, he's not going anywhere. But if he does, the Lions do have an out in his contract. They're able to get out of it this year without taking on too much dead money. Otherwise, he's here for 2 more years if he continues to play this way, at least. So yeah, I think defensively is where you got to go. I think they're going to put the majority of their free agency money into that. And I think they're going to put the majority of their draft picks into that as well. And the good thing is they have could potentially, if the Rams keep playing the way they do, they could potentially have 2 top 15 picks. So that's things could be going well there for Detroit in the draft. But
I forgot they have the Rams pick too. Yeah, the Rams are cooked, man. That offense is broken.
Yeah, Stafford is taking a lot of sacks right now. It's not
no Andrew Whitworth. It's really hurting them this year.
Yeah, makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. I forgot about that. I'm excited. I think it's going to be interesting. Well, we'll end on this. Let's say they end 3-14, but show and fight week over week. Do you think Campbell, Glenn, and Ben Johnson all make it out into next year? If that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that they're in any danger of losing.
No one on
jobs.
the staff's in danger right now.
No. I think that there's a pretty well understanding that this is a rebuild, and I know that the people were kind of expecting more from the Lions this year, and in a lot of ways they have shown more. It's just that's not showing on the standings so far, but they definitely look like a better team than they did last year at this time. But again, they're the youngest team in the league. Like you can't expect that turnaround to be, so fast. And after Matt Patricia left this Lions team, he essentially left nothing. Whereas, usually you expect to inherit a team, like they inherited nothing. Stafford left, Galladay left, like everybody left town right after Patricia did. So it was, it's a rebuilding process from the studs essentially.
Interesting. On Sunday, what are you most looking for out of your team?
Well, Lions are on the bye week.
Oh yeah, you are on the bye week this week.
Yeah,
you should be okay this week. Yeah,
I'm looking for some rest and relaxation.
Yeah.
But the following Sunday when they play the Cowboys, really I'm looking for them to make Cooper Rush or Dak Prescott or whoever it is that's going to play quarterback for that team. Make them beat you. Try to take Ezekiel Elliott out of the equation, and then they've been decent against stopping the run. But this is going to be a really tough game, regardless of who plays quarterback. Cooper Rush is really surprising people. I wouldn't be shocked if they just let him finish the season, or if something happened where Dak Prescott is gone next year, or I don't know. But
interesting.
Just you got to stop that run and make the quarterback beat you there. We'll see what happens.
What did y'all do to get the Bills on Thanksgiving this year?
Apparently something really bad.
Bad.
Yeah, that's going to be a really, really rough game.
Goodness gracious. Have you been to a Lions Thanksgiving game?
No. No. That's too much, man.
That's too much. That's
too
the
much.
most Lions thing I've ever heard. That's too much. I can't give them my Thanksgiving. I can't do it.
No. Need my turkey.
I like it. Mike, what can the good folks look for you and all the good folks over at Pride of Detroit this week?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at POD_Payton. Got a bunch of columns going up for the Lions starting next week. I'm kind of sort of taking the week off right now, but if you go to my Twitter and pinned at the top of my profile is you'll see I did a feature for SB Nation on Saturday, which is I spoke with a sports psychologist, and we went over what it's like for sports breakups. Like when your favorite player leaves town, like for you when Matt Ryan left Atlanta, like maybe you were sad about that for a little while.
We don't need to revisit all of that. And that was, that was rough.
That was rough, right? So yeah, so I kind of went into an interview with a sports psychologist, and we talked about why that's rough and why that feels almost like breaking up with somebody. So really proud of what came out with that. So if you'd like to read anything that I write, I would check that one out.
There you go. Mike, this has been a blast. I appreciate you making the time this afternoon, and we'll have to reconnect again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Chase.